October 2015, on the 70th anniversary of the United Nations, more than 300 landmarks in over 80 countries were turned blue, and a gathering of invited guests from the community attended a fine dinner at the Diplomat Radisson Blue Hotel. The United Nations Development Programme resident representative and UN coordinator in Bahrain, Peter Groman, along with other UN delegates, made welcome diplomats, other dignitaries, and all guests as they filed past. Many surely keen to take a wander around the accompanying photo exhibition, which showcased key moments in Bahrain's participation at the UN. Bahrain has been a member of the United Nations since September 1971, which is the year of its independence. Not so long after, the first United Nations offices were set up in the country, and since, many aspects of the UN's commitment to Bahrain are evident. To quote the UN, the 70th anniversary of the United Nations is an opportunity to reflect, to look back on the UN's history and take stock of its enduring achievements. It is also an opportunity to spotlight where the UN and the international community as a whole needs to redouble its efforts to meet current and future challenges across the three pillars of its work: peace and security, development, and human rights.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, dear UN colleagues, on behalf of the UN country team in Bahrain, it is my pleasure to welcome all of you to this year's UN Day celebration. It is indeed an honor to have you all with us today to commemorate the 70th anniversary of the United Nations.
There followed a rendering of the Bahrain national anthem and the UN hymn before the first speaker was called to the stage, that being Foreign Ministry Undersecretary for International Affairs, Sheikh Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Khalifa.
It gives me great pleasure to participate in the celebration of the United Nations 2015 United Nations Day, and I therefore wish to extend my warmest gratitude to my dear friend Peter Groman for his courteous invitation. Special importance is necessary this year, with the 70th anniversary of the establishment of the United Nations. I believe in some cultures, monarchies in fact, 70-year anniversaries are referred to as the Platinum Jubilee, and that is exactly what this incredible organization that we all take pride in deserves. Platinum and nothing less. This year, the world leaders participated in the United Nations Summit on the 25th of September, during which they adopted the post-2015 Sustainable Development Goals. To further strengthening this organization's founding purpose, to secure a solid foundation for international cooperation that would pave the way for prosperous sustainable development and ensure a secure, stable future for all nations and its people. In retrospect, we in the Kingdom of Bahrain are committed to working hand in hand with the international community to implement this plan in whole by the end of 2030. We vow to fulfill this pledge through the entrenchment of stable grounds that will ensure properly integrated, balanced, sustainable development in all economic, social, and environmental fields. Of course, Bahrain's proud track record in achieving the Millennium Development Goals shall set the pace for the execution of the new Sustainable Development Goals. It gives us great pleasure to declare that we have every intention of working with the United Nations Development Programme as part of our ongoing partnership since 1978 to attain the SDGs through national programs and initiatives of sorts, in consonance with Bahrain's 2030 economic vision and its supportive national government programs. As many of you are aware, the Kingdom continues to make advancements as documented in the United Nations reports in the fields of education, eradication of poverty, and reinforcement of the principles of human rights. As a pioneering state in human resources development and in achieving a firm 5% index over the past 5 years. All these accomplishments have been made possible due to the wisdom set in His Majesty's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa's reform aspirations, enveloped in his keenness to working towards the realization of the desires of our ever strong nation in all political, social, and economic fields. This will be enshrined in all current and future national programs and plans that fall under the umbrella of the post-2015 Sustainable Development Goals. In fact, one of the very first endeavors will be to host on December 6th the very first regional ministerial conference on how to implement the SDGs. It is intrinsic that we remain focused on the complex challenges we face during these trying times that make us in dire need for a stronger cooperation, consolidation, and collective efforts to further solidify and entrench the pillars of security and stability, and devise solutions through steady steps to preserve the comprehensive, advanced, and prosperous development we have already accomplished and have yet to achieve for our peoples and our countries. This, no doubt, necessitates the protection of the principles of nation-states' sovereignty and non-interference in domestic neighborliness and mutual respect, achieving of economic, political, and social development on rigid foundations, and working with friendly countries in the region and allies across the globe to develop international cooperation as stipulated by the United Nations Conventions for the sake of a prosperous future for all people of the world. Bahrain vows, we vow to uphold this commitment. Thank you all.
Good evening, Your Excellency, Sheikh Abdullah bin Ahmed Al Khalifa, Undersecretary for International Affairs of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Your Excellency, Sheikh Azam bin Mubarak Al Sabah, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador of Kuwait, Your Excellency, Faika bin Saleh, the Minister of Health. Happy to have you with us tonight. Ambassadors, heads of UN agencies, UN colleagues, esteemed partners in government, respected journalists, ladies and gentlemen, friends of the UN. As the United Nations resident coordinator and on behalf of the UN agencies in the Kingdom of Bahrain, I'm delighted to welcome you to our celebration of the 70th anniversary of the ratification of the United Nations Charter. 70 years ago, the United Nations was established in the wake of World War II during a meeting in San Francisco of representatives from 51 countries. It was then that the UN Charter was founded to preserve peace and security, human rights, and development. In 1971, Bahrain's admission to the United Nations was accepted and its flag hoisted in a public ceremony in New York. This was the beginning of a long-standing relationship of the UN with the Bahraini nation and the start of Bahrain's instrumental role on the world stage. But the relationship between Bahrain and the UN predated this. In 1970, the Secretary General conducted a fact-finding mission in the country to consult with the people of Bahrain on their future. The mission found that the people of Bahrain wished to be independently governed and to have their identity recognized within a fully independent and free state. Following the admission to the UN, Bahrain has signed and ratified many international treaties and conventions related to peace and security, human rights, and economic and social development. Underlining Bahrain's strong desire to actively promote and uphold the standards and agreements of the international community, which also became the guideline for the UN's work in Bahrain in over 40 years of cooperation. The opening of the first UN office in Bahrain in 1972 and the signing of the UNDP Basic Agreement in 1978 marked the beginning of the successful history of development cooperation between the UN and Bahrain. In line with its developmental mandate, the UN Development Programme has been supporting the connection of the country's national priorities with global networks of knowledge and technical solutions. Over the years, as the country grows, required, more UN agencies opened in Bahrain, establishing a local presence, including the United Nations Information Center, the United Nations Environment Programme, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, the World Meteorological Organization, UNICEF, UNESCO, and the International Civil Aviation Organization. A relationship rich in both local and global achievements. I use this occasion to highlight some of the positive results of that partnership. In fact, since the inception of Enterprise Development and Investment Promotion Program in Bahrain, UNIDO has assisted 5,000 prospective Bahraini entrepreneurs, leading to the creation of 800 new enterprises and nearly 15,000 jobs, with an estimated investment of $1.4 billion US. Over the years, the UNDP has helped to create the University of Bahrain, to formulate the National Environment Strategy, the National Strategy for People Living with Disabilities, and the National Youth Strategy. It worked with both the Council of Representatives and the Shura Council, providing training to members of parliament and strengthening the capacity of the parliamentary secretariat. On the environmental front, the government of Bahrain has supported the United Nations Environment Programme and facilitated its mandate to promote sustainable development in general and protection of the environment in the West Asia region for over 30 years. Technical and policy guidance has been provided in many environmental fields. Now, a major focus of UNEP and other UN agencies is the support to the government in its preparation for the Conference of Parties in December, where we all expect to reach a global climate agreement. UNESCO has also been instrumental in supporting the kingdom's aspirations in preserving and promoting its rich cultural heritage. Today, Bahrain boasts 2 sites on the World Heritage List: Khalat al-Bahrain, the ancient harbor and capital of Dilmun, and Pearling testimony of an island economy. In 2010, the Arab Regional Center for World Heritage was established under the auspices of UNESCO. Committed to the international development agenda, just as Sheikh Abdullah already mentioned, and following the Millennium Summit in Bahrain, Bahrain not only achieved nearly all Millennium Development Goals and received the MDG Award in 2010, but today also fully embraces the new Sustainable Development Agenda that heads of state and government adopted in New York in September. In fact, Bahrain has played a leading role in defining the new agenda with a high participation of citizens in the Global My World Survey, by hosting the Arab High-Level Forum on Sustainable Development in May, and by preparing for the first regional conference on the implementation of the new Sustainable Development Goals to be held in Bahrain in December. The initiatives and fruit of the UN-Bahrain relationship are too many to list. But it is in recognition of this immense body of work and also to pay tribute to the achievements of the kingdom on the global stage that this year the UN Bahrain entered into a partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs under the leadership of Sheikh Abdullah to develop a documentary that examines this historical journey. It is scheduled to be released in December, but we are very proud to be able to show you now a few highlights of this documentary.
The Conference of the United Nations on international organization is now convened.
Welded together in what should be a continued cooperation for world peace.
Human rights.
These are United Nations goals.
If we work together in a spirit of friendship and understanding, we'll have little to fear.
7 decades.
Promote international solidarity.
I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together.
Our aim is clear. Our mission is possible.
أهمية التحرك نحو مزيد من الإصلاح والتطوير واضعين نصب أعيننا المصلحة العليا لشعبنا.
Who have approved the application of the state of Bahrain for admission to the United Nations.
UN Day is a fine occasion to express, and let me close with this, to express our gratitude to the leadership and government of Bahrain for its continued support, marking 44 years of successful partnership. I would also like to thank all our close partners in the United Nations, all our close partners in government, in the civil society organizations, in the private sector, in academia, and in the diplomatic community, for their support, their trust, and their friendship. And last but not least, UN Day is a moment to thank the UN country team for the great collaboration and all UN staff in Bahrain for their immense dedication throughout the year. In particular, and on this special anniversary, I would like to recognize the outstanding contributions of our long-serving staff and our former staff who are here today and who have helped throughout the many years to develop this extraordinary partnership. Thank you very much.
Dignitaries then gathered for a photo opportunity and, of course, the cutting of the 70th birthday cake. This was followed by the official opening of the photo exhibition. Very poignant black and white pictures which, as mentioned earlier, depicted the many aspects and very memorable moments through the years since the early 70s when Bahrain became part of the organization. Then in true UN philosophy, it was time to feed the people, and a sumptuous buffet prevailed before the evening closed off. This is Geg Hopkins for Who Does What TV.